Hey co-reporters, do you remember Jessica from season 1 of Love is Blind? Well, she's actually come out in an interview with Us Weekly Magazine to talk about the latest season of the show and how it's kind of reignited old wounds for her. And I thought this was a very interesting interview, and I'm actually really happy that she did it. Jessica was the original villain of Love is Blind when it first aired, season 1. You know, to everyone but me. If you guys remember, I was always rooting for my girl. I always knew she was not the real villain. So she really knows what it's like to be, you know, the Shake of the season. And of course, not only that, but like people are always comparing her to the current villains. So with her being the initial villain, of course, people compare the newbies to the old ones, as always, human nature. And number one comparison that she's been getting is with Shayna from this season, who also, you know, was in love with one person, accepted a proposal from someone that she was not in love with, who is the ultimate villain who refuses to kind of stand down and humble himself a little bit and listen to what all of his co-stars said, because at the reunion it was obvious they all hated him, the hosts hated him, and the viewers hate him as well. Instead, he stoked the flames at the reunion, and on social media he really thrives off of it as well, and it's just not coming across great for him. So Jessica actually had quite a bit of an interesting, surprising take on this. She said, and I quote, "You know, it's hard for me to see someone be torn apart regardless of their own actions on television. You know, I'm gonna try not to cry right now, but it's weighing heavy on me. Sometimes it's editing, and sometimes, you know, you have to take accountability for the things that you did or did not do." She mentions a bunch of the cast members reaching out to her advice on handling the public, you know, kind of perception of them. And she says that that is always her number one piece of advice to them. So again, on the topic of Shake, she said that she was actually quite traumatized to watch the way that he was picked apart on the reunion and the way that he is picked apart online as well. Like, those are her examples. She said, "Move on and live your life and have another chance." Shake is not taking the chance at this time, and he's not willing to kind of fall on that sword, whether it's totally, you know, his fault or not. I think there's probably certain things that weren't aired that he's probably just so hurt about and caught up about, but he's still human, who still needs to be treated like a human being. And quite frankly, the scenes that I saw come out where he was being viciously attacked, I was a little traumatized by that. Listen, I'm not surprised, because if you remember Jessica at the reunion, she looked like a scared little chihuahua. Like, she looked like she was traumatized and going through it, and I still have that picture very clear in my mind. So like, I could totally see her having that bit of empathy for him and still being frustrated with him as well for not at least having, you know, any kind of remorse for the way that he treated Deep. And I do agree with her that there was a little bit of like a mentality of just everybody pouncing on Shake. Yes, he was incredibly annoying, but some of those moments were a bit much for me as well. You know, especially when Vanessa, the host, started yelling at him and stuff. Nick got smart with him about his career and all of that, and neither of them intervened when Ayanna called him a narcissist, which is a very strong word. It's a medical diagnosis. It's like, you know, people throw it around online all the time, whatever, but then when it's on a TV show to be aired, one of the castmates is calling that, and the hosts in charge of kind of like keeping everything moving smoothly do not intervene, and they seem to be against the person as well. Yeah, it was a bit much in my opinion. I will be doing a deep dive on that, by the way. But that is basically where Jessica falls. And then when she talks about like being understanding why Shake might be frustrated about some things that maybe did not make it to the show, because at the end of the day, you guys, it is a show, it is for entertainment. They've got tens of thousands of hours of footage of these people, and each person has to fit into a certain box, fulfill a certain character or a certain role. You don't really get a full nuanced view of all of these people. And in Jessica's case, remember, we learned later on that Mark was cheating on her the entire time, playing victim on TV, and she could not talk about that. So I'm not saying that Deep was doing the same secretly to Shake, but it just goes to show that there are things happening behind the scenes that are not shown on the show, and she could understand and empathize with why Shake might be frustrated by that. A good example of this is when Kyle tried to point out that production purposely sent Natalie into the room instead of Shayna when Shane was supposed to be talking to Shayna, and he got cut off by the hosts several times when he tried to point it out, you know, because they have to keep a certain image going and a certain level of drama going. You know, it's interesting, right, by the way, that the host can intervene on that. Kyle exposing how kind of staged and orchestrated a moment was, but they could not intervene when a cast member was calling another cast member a literal narcissist. I digress, you guys. Let me know what you think, okay? Comment section as usual, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.